This week I'm in the wilderness of the Sangre de Cristos here in Colorado. And I'm in a place that I have been coming to for 50 years. It is a remote place. It is a obscure place. It's hard to find on a map. I don't normally tell people where it is because I'd like it to remain primordial. Because no one really comes here very often. And the reason they don't is that it's hidden. And it's also extremely hard to get to. It takes me 2 days to get here. But it's an incredible thin place for me, if you understand that in the Celtic tradition. A thin place. I've met God here many, many times, and it's obscure. I want to talk to you a bit about obscurity. Obscurity and God seem to go together. If you think about how God interacted with his people over the years and generations, he chose perhaps one of the most insignificant planets in the solar system to put us on. He chose one of the most insignificant solar systems in our galaxy, and he chose one of the most insignificant and smallest galaxies in our universe. All of this, and he pays attention to us. And then when you think about who he chose to communicate his great love for creation, he chose a wandering band of Bedouins that no one had ever heard of, that had really done nothing except they worshiped the one true God. And from there, he created this covenant relationship. And then he chose to send his son to be born not in Rome, not in Athens, not in London, but in Bethlehem, which is a little bedroom community a few miles away from Jerusalem. No one had heard of Bethlehem, except for a couple of minor prophets. And then, where was he raised? He was raised in Nazareth. Nazareth, can anything good come from Nazareth? That was the saying. A little town, a village really, of 150 to 200 people. And what was Jesus in that village? Was he a great preacher? Was he a great philosopher? No. He was the town handyman. He maybe made a few tables. Maybe he made a cabinet. Maybe he hung a door. Most likely he was more like a stonemason than even a carpenter. If you've ever been to Israel, you know that stone is everywhere. And out of that obscurity, for 30 years, out of that obscurity, Jesus comes forth to begin his public ministry. And even then, the world does not pay attention to Jesus. Only Josephus mentions just a little bit of Jesus in his writings, the first century Jewish historian. Obscurity. How does obscurity change you? Well, first of all, pride can't get in the way because no one's there to notice you. I'm going to encourage you to think about ways that you can serve others in obscurity. You know, one of the things I've learned about the spiritual disciplines is this. I really like silence and solitude. I really do. This place, there's nobody here. I love silence and solitude, but also by temperament, I'm an introvert. So it's natural that I would love a place like this. But what's not natural for me is to serve others and no one know that I serve them. And I'm going to tell you something that you can't tell anybody, because if you do, I'll lose my reward in heaven. I may already lose it by telling this to you. The little church that I pastor, I'm the only staff person. We have an admin person that comes in 3 days a week, but that's it. So often I am not only the preacher, the leader, the moderator of business meetings. I'm also the youth department leader. I help with worship. And sometimes I'm even the custodian. And when I'm the custodian and I'm cleaning the toilets or mopping the fellowship hall, or if I'm vacuuming, I think of the people that use this facility. And we are creatures of habit, aren't we? They almost always sit in the same pews. And so while I'm vacuuming, there, sometimes on a Saturday night, I pray for the people whose feet are right there where I'm vacuuming. And I pray for them by name. I call their name to the Lord. Now, I know that's not a big deal. and I probably lost any reward I might have had by having that. But it shows you a way for you to think about how you can serve in obscurity. Serving in obscurity, it shrinks your ego and expands your soul. As long as you do it in the presence of the Lord, and only in the presence of the Lord. So find ways to do that. Maybe there's a soup kitchen that you could volunteer for. Maybe there's a Boys and Girls Club that could use your services. Maybe there's a mission. Find some place that you can serve, and then do your very best not to post it on Facebook or take a selfie of you doing it. Just spend that moment, those moments, in obscurity with your Lord, who loves obscurity.